Looking back at game 3, looking ahead to game 4, Al Horford's defense, not as bad as you think. We'll talk about all of that and more right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still B-Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, Monday through Friday, with a free, you don't have to pay for it, fresh, because it's new, podcast. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube and comment. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase. You get a first deposit match up to $100. So let's get into today's podcast with Tom Westerholm.
Hey.
Tom, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Sitting here in lovely, scenic Cleveland, Ohio, enjoying my time here. Thoroughly.
Did you get Barrio?
Not yet. That's on today's. That's
Okay.
on today. Okay, look,
All right.
man, it's a long process,
Yep.
right? You don't just dive in. Barrio, I know, is like the place to go.
Yeah.
I did Mabel's Barbecue. That
Okay.
was another
Okay,
recommendation.
Yeah, good spot, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of like Cleveland, man. I don't know. It's not a bad city.
it's
Around the
not bad.
arena. Around the arena is I don't know much about the rest of Cleveland, but around the arena is kind of fun.
It's actually not so bad. It's not so bad. Well, like, I mean, I'm going to make fun of it because, why not?
You and Jaylen
just
laughing at the weather out there in Cleveland.
I mean, that was such a great line. We're not
funny.
we're not in Cleveland for the weather, which on a day like yesterday, which was like 50 degrees and raining all the time, I'm sure he was just in his hotel room like, what am I doing here? Couldn't we just play Miami again?
I was going to say, it's quite the juxtaposition going from Miami to Cleveland, but
couldn't have been Orlando.
Jaylen should have gone to Barrio too. Think about that. Yeah.
Maybe we'll. Maybe I'll ask Jaylen to go to Barrio.
There you go. Now we're on to something.
Yeah. Now he's definitely not going. So, all right. Let's see. Let's just look back on game 3 because there's some other stuff here that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, Tatum had the big game. I wanted to talk about Horford's defense. What were your big takeaways out of game 3?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, after all the avalanche of criticism and everything, I thought both Jaylen and Tatum were awesome. Right. Like, yeah. I mean, just, like basic stuff there, but like, I mean, especially Jaylen, right? Like just like so efficient. I really liked, I gotta know, honestly, both of them really, I liked the way they played. I thought they were aggressive. I thought they weren't too aggressive. Like there's this fine line between like Tatum going out and saying like, I need to prove myself, and Tatum kind of being like, okay, I'm going to be better. And he walked it really nicely. I thought, even without making 3-pointers, like I think we're still kind of waiting to see, if and when Tatum kind of has one of those big Tatum games where he knocks down a bunch of threes. That wasn't, game 3.
Yeah.
And he still played really well. So I really liked them. I thought I thought some of the contributions the Celtics got were really interesting. Like, to me, Peyton Pritchard had one of the more interesting games of like kind of the lower tier guys.
Yeah.
Didn't do that much, but had the big defensive stop against Donovan Mitchell to end the third quarter, where the Celtics held on to a 15-point lead, and had the big 3-pointer in the fourth quarter. Like,
oh my God,
those are two kind of outsized plays, and I think they really speak to why you give that guy a ton of minutes and a ton of opportunity during the regular season, so he's ready for that precise moment. And that's why you like somebody like Peyton Pritchard, because he's got the onions to just walk in there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna one-on-one with Donovan Mitchell. Let's go, buddy. 33 feet from the basket. Let's go, buddy. I'm gonna knock this shot down. So I thought he played a really like kind of, oversized game for the little bit of stat line that he got.
Yeah, right. You look at it and you say 2 for 4, 1 for 2 from 3. He had 5 points. He was a -4, 3 assists and 3 rebounds. Like you're like, okay, yeah, Peyton did a couple of things, but yeah, it's about sometimes it's just about the timing of what you do, right? Like, okay, so he was on the floor for maybe an early Donovan Mitchell flurry.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I mean, the stuff that Donovan Mitchell is doing, the shots that he's hitting, like. I'm rewatching the game. I'm like, get out of here. Just amazed.
All 7 of his makes were listed as step back threes. Oh, from 3. All 7 of his threes were step back threes.
Unbelievable. Like he's not that good of a 3-point shooter. And yet here he is going 7 of 12. Like that's just wild. But okay. Awesome. So he's on the floor for some of that. And so Peyton gets a negative in the plus minus. But yeah, those 2 plays, that shot, just like you said, the onions to take that shot at that time was such a big, timely shot. Someone tweeted at me. I love the fact that people catch on to my little quirks about how I look at the game. I'm like, the clutch shots that don't come in the last 5 minutes. Like that was one. Absolutely one of them. They needed that huge and Derek White, like that stretch, he and Derek White both, like, I think consecutively hit monster 3-pointers. You're like, those were huge. Like,
yeah,
beginning of the third quarter kind of won the game because it put enough space.
Right.
But those 2 shots right there were like huge in that fourth quarter execution.
I think you look at the way that shot, right? Like, the Celtics were up 9 at the time, and they had 2 straight possessions that they didn't score, and Cleveland had a chance to cut that lower than 9. And then you hit that shot. What a backbreaker. Like, if you're Cleveland and you failed to score 2 times and get that lead down, even because you hadn't really gotten it under 9 in quite a while, then Pritchard comes out and is like, okay, now it's 12 again. And it's like, yeah.
Like, yeah. And like, look, it's shot. The Celtics, right? This is supposed to be that feeling of like, if you can get, it's down to 9. It was 23 and it's 9. Let's get this down to 7, maybe 6, maybe 3. Like all of a sudden, then you start feeling the tightness coming out of Boston and they couldn't do it. And it wasn't the Celtics just like getting casual and blowing the lead. They missed shots. Like nothing about that second half made me feel like, here comes Boston doing it again. Credit to Cleveland, and look, it's tough. You can't hit every shot, but those guys hit those 2 shots. Pritchard hits that shot. That is an underrated stretch, I think, of that fourth quarter, and goes to that fourth quarter execution. Like the Celtics hit the shots they needed to hit, and the Cavs just didn't. And then this is why I was critical in yesterday's podcast. Like the Celtics got 80 shots, the Cavs got 84. You got to win that possession battle because the Celtics, like they were pretty even. It was 20-19 Cleveland in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics just hit a couple more, right? And in fact, Cleveland won the fourth quarter. Like that shouldn't be understated. But when you go into a fourth with a lead, like a 15-point lead, you can afford to have like that back and forth. I've said a million times, fourth quarter, when you have a double-digit lead, it's just about making the shots. And it doesn't matter if you trade baskets because all you're trying to do in that fourth quarter now is prevent the other team from going on a run. So you lose the quarter by 2, but you hit that big 3-pointer hit from him and the one from Derek White. That's clutch in closing this out.
And real quick, I think the one kind of positive sign kind of in those margins that you're talking about for the Celtics is I believe they tied the possessions with Cleveland and they came out with a win. Like that's a nice sign. If you tie the possessions, you come out with a double-digit win. I feel like that's a nice little positive for you.
Yeah. I just want them to win that shots attempted battle because you prevent the nothing from Max Strus, the nothing from Okoro, the nothing from like LeVert got hot in the fourth quarter. But one of these days, those guys are going to start hitting shots, and if they get more attempts, I just don't like that. That's where the math comes in. So,
yeah.
That's kind of where I want to go. Jayson Tatum was interesting because I didn't touch on this in yesterday's podcast, where he talks about the media, the perception, and trying to prove people wrong. We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy sports. Here you can take advantage of the NBA playoffs. It's a lot of fun. Plus, WNBA is back now. Baseball, hockey playoffs are going on. You can get into the action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. And it's just $10. You can turn into $1,000 with as few as 4 correct picks. That's pretty great. And to get those picks correct, you just got to pick more or less. They set the number and it's more or less. It's not easy because the number is always hard to like, oh geez, it's right on the money. It's right where I think Jayson Tatum is going to score, how many rebounds he's going to get. But if you can get it right and pick more or less, then you can go have some fun and maybe win up to 10 times your money on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's Locked On NBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. All the sports that you want, all around the world, everything you can think of, it's there at PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listener today. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all the big stories, all the big sports shows. Locked On Celtics makes it on there too sometimes. So if you hear a familiar voice, see a familiar face, it's because the Celtics are big news. But that's what the Locked On Sports Today feed is going to be, streaming all day, every day. Go check it out wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get back to this conversation. Tom, after the game, so Jayson Tatum has this big game, and he's asked about, like, do you hear the critics? Do you respond? Is this kind of like some sort of vindication, right? Like it's and he went on this big thing about like, listen, I respect what these guys do as long as it's fair. I'm glad that he put that out there. If they're fair, even if I disagree and they take emotion out of it, then they can say what they want to say and I'll accept it. But it's about not being fair. It's about talking with emotion. And he says, like, I can't give that any attention. But it's obvious in discussing it in the detail that he does, that he gives it some attention. It's inevitable because either he can say, I don't pay attention, but I'm sure his mom does. I'm sure his friends do. I'm sure people like back home in St. Louis do, and text him and be like, can you believe what Stephen A said or what Perk said or, all this stuff. And like, it really is unavoidable. And I will show a little bit of sympathy here for these guys because, once upon a time, like people talk about, oh, Larry Bird's day and blah, blah, blah. All you had to do was not pick up a newspaper and not turn on the radio.
Right.
And you could actually just avoid it all and be like, yeah, I don't know what at that point would be what Glenn Ordway was saying, but now with the internet and social media and just the preponderance of podcasts and, everybody's got something to say and it's impossible to avoid that. So I thought it was really interesting to hear him talk about it and be like, look, my job is to be the best player I can be and do all this other stuff. And just, to his credit, like, I don't think he forced anything. You made a great point there. That I don't think he or Jaylen forced anything. And I actually do think that they forced a little bit more in game 2 than they did here. They were making the right reads in this one. And yeah, I think that's what makes this such a great game from both of them. Tatum was hot early. Jaylen was kind of consistent, hitting some tough shots, but not letting the noise kind of get to them or not get to them in a bad way, I think is what led to this game.
Yeah, and I think I'm really curious to see as the playoffs go on how that kind of translates across the board, right? Because I do think you're human, right? Like these guys are human beings who are like playing basketball, and it's like
they're human.
In 2024, in the modern basketball discourse, like you're gonna hear things. It's gonna come. And it's like, how can you not let it affect you, especially if you're younger, right? And I think as they get older, as they get more experienced, as they go through more things, just like naturally they're going to become more mature. Naturally, they're kind of used to this stuff and learn how to brush it off. And I think, like we've talked about how different the Celtics seem this year. And I think part of that is just like the natural, maturation process of your best players. That's just, that happens as you get a little bit older. Human beings get older, they get a little more mature, they get a little bit, they just get a kind of a better head on their shoulders. And I think this kind of speaks to that, right? Like, eventually you do kind of learn how to deal with the media. You do kind of learn how to, like, if you're on this level, as long as Jayson Tatum has been on this level, you are going to eventually have to learn how to deal with somebody like Stephen A. Smith saying things, or somebody like Kendrick Perkins saying things that you might not agree with. Somebody like John Karalis just bloviating on a podcast.
Just an absolute, just full of himself, loves to hear himself talk type of person. Yeah,
just the worst kind, but
just absolutely the worst.
I just think it's a good sign, and I think if you're a Celtics fan, it's nice to see these guys kind of brushing that off, because I think that translates more than most of them would probably like to admit to their on-court stuff as well.
We very easily forget how old these guys are, and the fact that they are in their mid-20s, and everything is accelerated, right? Like, you run your career until, I think most guys, you're lucky if you get to 35, or Al Horford 30s. Like, if you can get into your late 30s.
People talk about Al Horford like they're about to send him into a home, which is
honestly, like, Al Horford is discussed in terms of like, somebody get him a walker, and some tapioca, and like, don't make loud noises. And he's 37. I'm 50. I would kill to be 37 again. I loved being 37. I was playing ball. I was feeling good. I was really just but at the NBA level, you're ancient. Like, your life, you go through an entire life.
Yeah.
In basically, Tatum started at what, 19?
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of less than 20 years, you live an entire lifetime. You come in as a kid, you grow into like this mature human being in your mid-20s, and then in your 30s, you're dead. And that's it. And then you retire, and people say your eulogy. You watch your own eulogy.
If you're good enough, you get to go to Springfield, Massachusetts, and watch your own eulogy
that's right,
on a red carpet.
I mean, it's just, we don't realize how hard that is. Like, that's not where your brain is supposed to be, just as a human being.
Right.
And like, think about anybody who is in their early 20s. Think about all the dumb things that you get to do and the mistakes you get to make. And you just get to be like, man, I'm 20. Who cares? Like, I'm 23. Who cares? There's a Bruno Mars song with Snoop and a bunch of people. And the whole thing is like, we're just having fun and smoking weed and getting drunk. And we're young. We're supposed to have this kind of fun. And it's like, these guys don't get to do that publicly. They do it, but like 25, 26, you're supposed to be the super mature. Hey, he's supposed to figure this out by now.
Yeah.
How many of you at 26 had stuff figured out? I didn't. And like, it's a testament to when we hear them speaking and the maturity level that they do bring. That's a testament to how advanced they are off the court as well. Like, they have to grow up in a much different environment. So that to me is kind of amazing. They don't get the pass, and it's in the simple reason why, because they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. If you gave me $30 million at 25, I wouldn't have been more mature. I would have been a whole lot less mature. Like, it's just, all of that is to say, the rules of society don't apply to athletes. These guys are expected to be things that most people aren't. Like, that's it. All right. So that soliloquy is over. Al Horford's defense. Let's talk about basketball. Let's talk about Al Horford's defense, which I will contend better than people expected, better than people thought. We'll talk about that next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and that's because they're giving you, Mr. or Ms. new customer, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's very simple. $5, not a lot of money. If you've got it to spend and want to have some fun on the NBA and NHL playoffs or any other sport, you can go over there and sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your bet. $5. Celtics to win game 4. Very simple. Money line bet. Boom. You win $150 in bonus bets. Now you can go have some fun. You got a little extra cash you can spend on spreads, money lines, player props. Go have some fun with that. FanDuel.com/lockedon. The best part about FanDuel, I always say, is they don't want you to overextend yourself. They have their limits. They have their tools to have you set your limits, set your budget so you can go have fun, but gamble responsibly. Don't overdo it. Have some fun if you want to bet on sports, if that's your thing. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I will be there doing the Wednesday Locked On NBA with Jake Madison this week. So rotating hosts all week. I will be there. So come join me. Tom, I'm going to throw this out at you. I made a comparison, Al Horford to Tim Wakefield in the 2004 ALCS game 3, where they were getting whomped like 19 to whatever. And Tim Wakefield comes in and is like, look, I will take my lumps. We need to save the bullpen. I will eat up innings and just whatever happens, do not take me out. And famously, that saved the bullpen. They needed the bullpen. They ended up coming back and winning that series. Some little bit of that, some tiny little kind of element to that in Al Horford, because when you watch him switch onto Donovan Mitchell, they didn't help. Yeah. They didn't even try to help, which tells me that if this wasn't oh my God, we thought Al could switch onto Donovan and he's getting roasted. We should do something about that. They were like, nope, we're switching everything. And if Al switches onto Mitchell, just try to make his life as hard as possible. Everyone else stay home. Al, it's on you. You do what you can. Don't foul him. And that's it. And it seems to me like he was like, yes, sir. The matchup numbers were not good against Donovan Mitchell. Donovan scored 16 points, shot 54.5% against Al Horford. But Max Strus got nothing when he switched on to Strus. Okoro, 0 on switches. Mobley, just 2 points. Darius Garland, 4 points. He shot 33% when Horford switched on to him. Karis LeVert got a little bit going late, but that was some fourth quarter stuff. Then at that point, you were getting away from Mitchell altogether. Whole point of this is when Al switched on to everybody else, mostly did a good job. Against Donovan Mitchell, on an island, take your lumps. We're going to bet that he's not going to be that efficient. They kind of lost that bet because he's 7 of 12, but still, it didn't kill them because they were able to stay home on everybody else. I think that was the plan. And while Al Horford certainly cannot guard Donovan Mitchell on the switches, I don't think they care. And I think overall, aside from that, I thought Al Horford actually played better than people are giving him credit for.
I think that's like full transparency. I think that's a really good perspective that I had not considered. So my response is, good point, man. I do think, and I think that honestly, if you're the Celtics, right? I think you heard Drew Holiday talking about it after the game of like what he's doing, like what Mitchell is doing is hard. Like it's just
it's very hard.
Like he's like, I feel like I thought he might have gotten tired because what he's doing is crazy difficult, and like that's only gonna get harder as the series goes on, right? Like this isn't gonna get easier for Donovan Mitchell to keep every other day, backpacking 4 other dudes and just saying, all right, let's go, fellas. Like you can't do that, you know, 4 times out of 7, like against the best team in the Eastern Conference. Like, so yeah, I mean, I think, if you're the Celtics and you're looking ahead, I mean, you might have a point. And also, if you do have a point, keep doing it, because I think it's gonna get harder. I don't know if it's gonna get harder for for Mitchell to keep beating Horford, but it's gonna be hard for Mitchell to keep doing what he's doing. And if that's the case, like, Horford just switching might become a little bit more effective. And even if it doesn't, to your point, everybody else continues to struggle. Like that's
you said it before. You said it before. All 7 of his 3-point makes were classified as step backs, which, first of all, you got to push off that right knee. You got to push off that to hit those step backs. And I don't think he was right at the end of that game. I think he aggravated that knee at the end of that game.
That motion is so hard on your joints. Like, just honestly,
absolutely.
Like Kemba Walker, is like a perfect example of a guy who did that for a long time and was really, really good at it. But that motion is not. That's an explosive, oddly angled motion. That's not good for your body long term.
I think if I'm the Celtics and this goes into game 4 adjustments, I dare Donovan Mitchell to do that again. And not like the dare shots, right. If you play this exact same game, I would take all of those Donovan Mitchell shots again, because how many times is he going to go 7 for 12 with 7 step back 3-pointers? It just, and I know I'm tempting fate because he's been doing it.
Yeah.
But that is even that. For Donovan Mitchell, who has been, as you said, backpacking, that is too much. He's going to get tired in that knee. I'm daring him. Go ahead. You want to do those step backs again? Because even if it stays closer, that fourth quarter, they didn't go to him at the end of the fourth quarter. And if you have Donovan Mitchell and you can't go to him down the stretch, what's the point?
Yeah. And again, even if he does, to your point, even if he does make them, it's like he was so efficient and, he scored 33 points. Like that's really good. 33 points. That's a big game. He had a huge game. I think it was 33. But he was in that like 30 range. It's like, that's probably not going to beat you if you're the Celtics. Let's say that for the rest of the series, he continues to make 7 out of 12 step back threes, if you're shutting down Max Strus, if you're preventing other guys from hitting threes, if you're shutting down, if you're, like a Coro, like those corner threes, like even like the pick and roll stuff they're giving up, it's like, you're kind of giving up twos. Like, I think you survived that. Okay.
7 of 12 for Donovan Mitchell. The rest of the Cavs were 5 of 24 from 3. So that's not good.
That's a win.
That's not good. Yeah. That is a win all the time, in a double-digit win. As tough as that win was, that's a double-digit win on the road in the playoffs in an environment that was awesome.
Yeah.
They were great in Cleveland. I got a shout out to Cleveland fans. They were great. That atmosphere was hostile. It was loud. It was consistent. And I was getting juiced. Because I'm like, this is exactly what you want as a player on the road. You're like, yes,
those are
feed
fun
me your hate.
Games.
Yeah, that was fun. So, but yes, I keep saying, like, I don't make any adjustments, man. It's okay, Donovan, do it again.
And
do it again.
And I know you feel the same way about this too. Like, and this is with every respect and salute to Donovan Mitchell, who is
100%
balling.
Like, he is absolutely doing everything. Like, I like at the end of the series, if I was on the Celtics, I would go search him out and give him a hug and be like, you were unreal. One of the most amazing playoff performances I've ever seen. And you couldn't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
You cannot drag the rest of these guys to a series win. So keep doing it. And I just don't think he has, I don't know how much he has left. I'm feels like where he's getting it from, I don't know, but kudos to him. But I just don't see it. Now, every time I've said something this confidently, game 4, he's going to go out and score 60 and carry them to a win. So what can I say?
Our track record of confidence in the Celtics, like, I don't think there's adjustments that can be made, has not been strong.
It's not been great. The Celtics have found a way to like really, but anyway, I'm putting a lot of in that knee. Just doesn't look right. Just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you, Tom, as always.
Real quick. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, who listens to most Locked On Celtics podcasts. Maybe all of them. I'm not sure. Also, shout out to my Happy Mother's Day to my wife, who does not like sports or podcasts. But
oh yeah, well, same here. To all the moms, my mom, my wife, all of that. I forget what day it is sometimes. So thanks, Tom, for reminding us that there are plenty of moms who watch and listen. So shout out to you. Hope you're having a great day and getting drunk at brunch like you're supposed to.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate you, man.
And thanks to you, yes, moms and dads and kids. Hope you're having a great weekend and hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're enjoying this podcast enough to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. And get into the comments section and share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.